Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and welcome to the Convoy. This mission, we're going back to one of the Vigilus books where we're going to play one of the 8th edition missions called the Convoy, but we're going to use 10th edition rules and lore. So I was going to do this as a last sort of a last hurrah for 9th, but there's a reason I didn't, and I'll come to that in a moment. So this is the table setup. This planet, the Space Marines, the Ghosts of the Forge, have been sent here to retrieve an asset, a sedated asset that's in stasis, and transport that back to one of the planetary docking bays so you can get that asset off planet. That is a slight twist I'm going to add to this 8th edition game. Which I'll explain the rules a bit further later, but essentially that is it. This is there's no secondaries, there's no objectives to hold. It's a relatively simple thing to get into 10th for me. It will be solo hammer today because that'll allow me to get my head around some of the rules and I can take my time to do it off camera, so to speak. But yeah, the mission is transport this asset and get him off planet. The two armies we've got today will be Space Marines versus Orks. We will go into this Ork army shortly. I'll go through the list, but just as a massive thank you to Paul from the local gaming club that we're all part of, who has kindly lent us this Ork army, which is only part of it, for the channel. So thank you very much, Paul, and we'll come back to the roster very shortly. So here is just shy of 2,000 points worth of Space Marines. I'll go through the enhancements and everything as I go through the game, but it's a very quick rundown of how this army is going to play out. So we've got the Warlord today, the Captain Ur'Venn armor, and he's going to be attached to the Aggressor Squad. We then also have another HQ, which is a Chaplain on a bike, who's also attached to the Outrider Squad. We then also have a lieutenant with Volkite pistol and storm shield, and he's attached to the Blade Guard veteran squad. Representing some of the transports, we've got an Impulsor, we've got a Repulsor, we've got a Land Raider, and we've got a Predator. Obviously that's not a transport, but it's there for protection. And the asset today is this deactivated in stasis Eversaur Assassin. So we'll come back to the mission rules shortly, but he will be represented somewhere within one of the transports. Riding in the transports, because we now can, I'm going to have a set of Terminators in the Repulsor, because why not? I'm going to put the Centurions in their normal ride, which is the Land Raider, because they always ride in that. And then on foot slogging, we've got a squad of Assault Intercessors, and we've got a squad of normal intercessors with a grenade launcher. So that's the army for the Space Marines. We'll head on to the army for the Orks. Okay, so leading up the Orks today is a Narbonne Smasher Squig. He is the Warlord. He is Mad Dog McSweeney. You know who you are. Thank you very much for everything that you say, and just for watching. So thank you very much. And he's leading up today, and he's attached to a squad of Squighog boys. In addition to him, We also have a weird boy who's attached to a squad of boys. I haven't put the boys out, I've just represented them with their respective knobs in the trucks that they'll be riding in, because I only have limited space to put 40 boys down. We have a looter squad, we have a war bike squad, we have a scrap track, scrap jet track thing, 2 of those, a squig truck, a custom booster blaster. We've got then a battle wagon with a roller and 2 mech guns. We've also got a squad of commandos, got a squad of tank busters, and we've got a squad of storm boys. Forgive me, it will take me some time to get used to some of the names and how this army runs. That's why I thought I'd start off clean, afresh, in 10th, and go through it that way. Give me a chance to get my head around it, get how they work, etc, etc, and hopefully have a lot of fun using them. So that's the armies. We'll go on to the mission. So the mission today is the convoy, so with a slight twist. Now in the convoy, one of the edges, I think I'm going to do it this edge, will have, or either end, it doesn't really matter, will be the defenders' deployment zone, and they will have 12 inches to deploy in, and the attackers don't set up, they're all in reserves. But the attacker gets first turn and must set up 12 inches on this table edge or the far table edge. They've got both edges in like a pincer movement. So the idea is in the Vigilus mission that you total up the points value of what gets off the other end of the board, and basically if what's left is greater than, or what's escaped is greater than what's left for the attackers, you essentially win. What I'm going to do with this is a slight twist. The assassin will be in stasis in one of the transport vehicles. I don't know which one, and it will be basically roll a d3, and he will be in that particular transport. So on a 1 it'll be the impulsor, on a 2 it'll be the repulsor, on a 3 it'll be the land raider, and we'll do that after in the command phase of the Orks' second turn. So we'll then get a fair idea, call it something that the weird boy gets an inkling of through the warp, or whatever you want to do, something like that. That will tell the Orks what transport the assassin is in. If they can destroy that transport and then after that destroy the assassin, that is also a win condition for the Orks. So we're going to make it nice and tough for the Space Marines this game. So with that, we'll go on to deployment and we'll head on to the first turn. So here we are after deployment. Basically everything is imagine swooping around and onto this lane that takes them further out of the city and out to the industrial area towards the planetary docking station. So leading the charge is the chaplain with his outrider squad, supported by the predator, and in turn then the land raider, the impulsor and the repulsor. Coming up the right hand flank was a squad of intercessors, and they'll make their way through the different outskirt parts as an outside flank, and then in turn with the assault intercessors as well. And then in amongst foot slogging as well is the captain with his aggressor squad. So that's deployment for the ghosts. Everyone else is in a transport. So with that, we'll go on to the Orks, turn 1. So here we are after the Orks movement phase. They've come in at the end of their movement phase as strategic reserves, and we have utilised both flanks. The battle wagon with the commandos in it and the tank buster squad, that's right up close and personal. Then a couple of all 4 trucks down this side with a looter squad, and then the squig, buggy, and the custom boost blaster down this side. And over the other side, we've got the scrap, the trap jet things, the biker squad, the war boss, Mad Dog McSweeney. He's there with the Squig Hog boys, with the Storm boys and the 2 mech guns. So really the only thing that is within range able to do anything this turn will be the mech guns. So we're going to fire everything from them into the chaplain and the outriders. So I've loaded these with bubble chuckers because they seemed like the orky thing to do. So we'll fire the first one into the chaplain's squad, and we get a wobbly bubble, which is D6 shots for 4. Hitting on 4s because of the grots. Okay. Wounding on 3s or even 2s, and it doesn't wound. Okay, the next one, rinse and repeat into the chaplain squad, and it's a big one, so I need to go and get some more dice possibly. Yes. Okay, hit on 4s, wounding on 3s, and they can wholly be seen by the mech gun, so it's -1 damage, so 4 up saves. And 1 goes through, so one of the bikers takes a wound. And with that, that moves on to the ghosts turn 1. So here we are at the end of the movement phase. I've gone into Devastator Doctrine, so everything can advance and shoot without penalty, which is what happened. So the chaplain auto-advanced with his outrider squad. The impulsor got a 6 on his, so he went straight forward. The intercessors walked themselves around this way to start taking some pot shots at some of the units there. Likewise with the Land Raider, the Predator and the Repulsor. So last thing to do is advance the assault intercessors, and they get a 5. So I'll move them 11 and we'll come back for the shooting phase. One thing we forgot to mention was Oath of Moment. So we'll make the battle wagon the Oath of Moment, so it's a reroll hits and reroll wounds on it. So we'll start with the Predator going into the battle wagon. So hitting on 3s, reroll him, wounding on 5s. Okay, so 2 go through. So -1 becomes -0 because he's got the benefit of cover, because I can't wholly see him. And 1, both save. So now the last cannons, both hit, wounding on 3s, both wound, 5 up saves. Nothing goes through, so 2d6 plus 1. Oof. Okay, so we'll rinse and repeat with the Repulsor. We'll do the defensive array off camera and come back for the big guns. So we rolled everything because it's like 18 is the number of shots for the defensive array. Didn't think we'd do anything, and we managed to get 2 6s, which it failed rolling 2 1s. So we'll now do the heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. I thought that would be a relatively good loadout to go against Orks, volume of fire, etc. So again, hitting on 3s. We roll that 1. Let's go 5. Okay. Wounding on 5. And I'll re-roll. Looking for some 6s on the re-roll here because he's got devastating wounds. Ooh, from which we get 3. He's got 4 wounds left, so that is 3 mortal wounds and 6 wounds to save. which he only failed one. I think I'll spend a CP for the Orks. Can I keep it alive? Because there's not much else to shoot at it, I don't think. No, I can't. Okay, so does it blow up? Let's hope not. It doesn't. Okay. So we'll roll for the 2 squads inside. There's 15 boys in there. There's 5 in the tank buster squad and 10 in the commando squad. Okay, so only 2 take a mortal wound. So let's have a look and see what's what. So then we'll do 5 shots from the intercessors and they'll go into the storm boys, I think. Hit on 3s. Wounding on 5s. There's 2 wounds go through. So a 5-up save is -1, so 6s. And 2 go through. So the last thing left to shoot really will be the Land Raider. It's going to go everything into that front mech gun here. You can see him all the way through. So we're going to put everything into this lowly mech gun. See if we can just whittle it down a little bit. So we'll start with the heavy bolters. Hitting on 3s. 6s explode, and it's twin linked, so it can re-roll its wounds. Okay, so 4 hits out of 2, out of 3. So strength 5, toughness 5, so falls to wound. And I can re-roll because it's twin linked. So all 4 go through. So it's -1, so it's 6-up saves for the mech gun, and none of them make it. So that's 8 wounds go through, and it kills the mech gun. I don't think it's got deadly demise. I'll roll anyway. I don't think it has anyway, which it doesn't do anyway. So cool. So that removes one of the mech guns, and that will be the end of turn 1 for the Ghosts of the Forge. So at the end of the first turn, a bit of a reprisal by the Space Marines managed to get rid of the battle wagon, and managed to get rid of one of the mech guns. However, coming next is Orks turn 2. We'll find out which of these transports has the asset in it, and I'm pretty certain I can hear a distant rumbling on the horizon of what might be coming the way of the Space Marines. Orks turn 2. Okay, we're just at the start of the command phase for the Orks, and there's one thing to do, and that's to call war! So we've called a war, and we're at the end of the movement phase for the Orks, and there's quite a lot going on. So mainly Mad Dog McSweeney, he's advanced and brought himself around in front of this impulsor. He fancies cracking that open. The war bikes have come down to face the chaplain and his crew, as has the Squig truck, the custom booster blaster. These Ork trucks have just advanced and created a bit of a roadblock. The scrap track jet things have advanced over there. Then around this side, the tank busters and the commandos have just moved normally to get a line of sight on the Predator and this squad of assault intercessors. So the only other thing is the looters have moved slightly just to start getting themselves into position for further turns. So that's movement phase done. We'll head on to the shooting phase. So we'll start with the mech gun. The mech gun is going to go into the Land Raider and see if we can get a little bit chipped off of that. So we start off with seeing what kind of bubble it generates, which is a wobbly bubble. So it's D6 shots for 3. So hitting on 4s. Oh dear. Wounding on 5s because it's strength 9 versus the Land Raider. And it wounds. -2. And it goes through for 3 damage onto the Land Raider. Okay, so start chipping away. Okay, so we're going to then move on to the tank busters, and everything's going to go into the Predator because they want it dead. So we'll start off with the 3d3 from there's 3 missile launchers in there, so 3d3 shots. Okay, hitting on 5s. Strength 9 versus toughness 10, so wounding on 5s and doesn't wound. Okay, and the rocket pistols. 1 hits, 5s to wound, it wounds. It's -1, which it saves anyway. Okay. So now on to the commandos, and they're going to put everything into this squad of assault intercessors. So with the sluggers and the special commando weapon, they're all coming in, they're all the same profile, so I'll roll them all together. So hitting on 5s. Strength 4, toughness 4, so wounding on 4s. Nothing wounds. D6 shots for the burner for 1, which wounds and is saved. So D3 shots for the rocket launcher for 3, 2 hits, 2s to wound, 2 wounds, -2, save 1, fail 1 for D3 damage, and it kills a Marine. Okay. Not much of the shooting to do because everything advanced, ready for a charge. So with that, the only thing we could is the squig truck. And the custom booster blaster didn't advance either, so we're going to fire that into the chaplain and his squad there. Yeah, we are, yeah. Okay, so hitting on 5s. It's going to be 3s to wound. It wounds. And is saved. Okay, onto the squig truck. So the Rucker truck squig buggy is going to go into the chaplain's squad. So we'll start off with a sawn-off shotgun because it's in range. Both hits. 5s to wound. No wounds. Okay, so now D6 +6 for the squig launcher. Ooh. Okay, so 5, a load of squigs being launched. So 5s to hit. 4s to wound. That's 2 wounds. Go through at -1. And one of the bikes has already taken 2 wounds. So taken 3 wound, taken a wound, so it's got 1 wound left. So that's the end of the shooting phase. Some incidental pitter-patter of shots coming in. But now, when we start to shine, is the charge phase and the fight phase. So pretty much everything's going to try and get in. So the war trikes are going to go into the Outrider squad. The tank busters are going to try and go into the Predator. Mad Dog McSweeney, he's going to go into the Impulsor. Around this side, the Storm Boys are going to go into the Assault Intercessors. I think that's probably about it. I might even see, depending on what we do, whether the Rucker truck squig buggy goes in at the same time to the Outriders. So we'll have a look. Okay, so we're going to start with the tank busters into the Predator, because they're going against a vehicle, so they get some buffs. They've called a war, so they already get +1 strength and +1 attack, but because they're hitting a vehicle, they also get to add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll. So they're going to be hitting on 2s with most of the close combat weapons, but then wounding on 5s because it'd be strength 5, sorry, against toughness 10. So it'll be still with 6s reduced down to 5s. So I'll get all the attacks together and we'll start rolling off. Okay, so hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s. So 2 3-up saves and makes them both. Okay, now for the tank hammer, hitting on 2s. All hit. This has an anti-vehicle 4, so it's always going to wound on a 4+, but so it would be wounding on 5s, adding 1 to the wound roll is 4s anyway. Oh, no wounds. Okay, it's hazardous. He's okay, he's fine. One thing we did forget to do actually was twice per battle, the tank busters, if they finish a move within 12 of a vehicle, they can, on a 2-up, it suffers from mortal wounds, which it does. So it suffers D3 for 2 mortal wounds. Okay, fantastic. So with that, we'll move on round to the Rooker Truck Swig Buggy and then onto the war bikes. So the Rooker Truck Swig Buggy gets 4 attacks, but obviously because of the Waaaaagghh gets 5 attacks. So 5 attacks, hitting on 4s. Okay. So wounding on 3s. 2 wounds go through. That's -1, 2 damage. So it kills that bike. So we'll start off with the 3 that got the power claws, the knob, and the other 2 have got power claws, and the other 2 have got choppers. So that is all these attacks hitting on 3s. Oh dear. So strength 10 with the Waaaaagghh, so wounding on 2s. So that's 9 at -2, 2 damage. Okay. So it kills 1 bike, kills the 2nd bike, and puts a couple of wounds on the chaplain. Now the sluggers come in, the choppers come in, sorry. Falls to wound. Oh dear. So -1, 1 damage each. Oh dear. And with that, the whole squad, including the chaplain, is completely wiped out. Okay, so now we'll go over to the Mad Dog McSweeney's squad into the Impulsor. So he's hitting on 3s and he gets anti-vehicle 3 on the Waaaaagghh and with his big chopper. So hitting on 3s. Okay, seen better. Wounding on 3s. Oh no. Oh no. He gets 2 extra attacks with his Smasher Squig and they both miss. Okay, so on to the Squig Hog boys. Okay, so on to the Squig Hog boys, hitting on 3s. Now, they get anti-vehicle 4, but they also get lance. So there would be strength 5, it's a higher toughness, so there'd be wounding on 5s, reduced to 4s anyway. So I'm not entirely sure whether the lance means it stacks against the anti-vehicle and they wound on 3s. I don't think so. I think it's still 4s. So correct me if I'm wrong, but wounding on 4s. So 5 wounds at -1. Wow, so the Impulsor takes 6 damage. And now on to the Squigs themselves. The Impulsor takes 6 damage. But that marks the end of, oh, we need to do the Storm Boys. Back in a minute. So I've changed some of the dice out, so with the power claw on the knob, they're the red dice. So everything's hitting on 3s for the normal choppers, hitting on 4s for the power claw. And wounding on 3s for the white dice and wounding on 2s for the red dice. So we do the one power claw saves, one at -2. That kills an intercessor. And then the other 2 at -1. And 1 takes a wound. And so that brings the Orks turn to an end. So, or the fighting to an end for the Orks. So now the vehicles themselves, the Predator and the Impulsor, get to strike back along with the intercessors down this flank here. So we'll get some dice ready. Probably roll the tanks off camera and come back for the intercessors. So we'll start the fight back over here with the intercessors into the Storm Boys. There's 4 left and they get 3 attacks each. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 5s though. So that's 4 5-up saves. Oh, and there's only 3 Storm Boys left. So that's the squad. The rest of the attacks from the Impulsor and the Predator went into the Squighog Boys and the Tank Busters respectively, doing no wounds. So with that, that marks the end of Orks turn 2. So now we'll move on to see what the Ghosts can do, because they're really hemmed in now. As you can see, this is the footprint here of what the Ghosts have. Now there are some embarked units, but they're pretty hemmed in. They've got a long way to go to get to that end of the battlefield. So let's see what the Ghosts can do in turn 2. So at the end of the Ghost movement phase, there's a few bits to do in the command phase, but mainly just we stayed in the tactical doctrine so we can advance and shoot without penalty. The only thing that didn't advance, the only thing that's moved at any distance is the Impulsor. It's getting itself out to combat, so it's not doing anything this turn. So it frees up potentially the Mad Dog McSweeney and the Squighog Boys as a target. The Centurions have disembarked. There's a slight shuffle with the car park down here, allowing the aggressors to start coming through. The intercessors moved up this flank. The assault intercessors shuffled forward slightly, looking to get a charge off into the commandos. And then everything else, like the Predator, stayed in combat. So we declared the war bikes as the Oath of Amendment target because we need to clear this run. We need to start getting to a point where if we can clear that lot off, then potentially if they go early on in this shooting phase, we can target the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy and just clear a bit of space potentially for turn 3. So let's see how we get on. So after rolling the defence array with the re-rolls for the wounds and the hits, we have 6 wounds come through. So there's no AP on the defensive array, so 6 4-up saves. And that kills a bike. So here's the heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, hitting on 3s. Re-rolling the hits. Okay. Wounding on 4s and re-rolling them. Okay. But that is minus. Again, no minus on that one. So 4 wounds coming through, no minus at all. So 4s again. 1 takes 2 wounds. And twin las cannon comes in and hits and wounds. And that is -3, so 5-up invulnerable save because it's still the Waaaaagghh is in effect, which kills the 1-on-1 wound. Okay, so then we'll fire the Hunter Slayer missile into the Ruckatruck Squig Buggy. This is its once per battle shot, so it hits on 2s because that's the ballistic skill apparently. I'll spend a CP, which hits. Strength 14, so 2s to wound, definitely wounds. So 5 up invulnerable save, which it makes. Fantastic. So now we move on to the las cannon. We'll fire the storm bolters off camera, but the heavy bolter and the las cannons, again, going into the war bikers. So hit on 3s, reroll him. Okay, so all 3 hit. Strength 5, toughness 6, so 5 to wound. Rerolling. So 2 wounds go through. So on to the 5 up invulnerable save, and both go through. Okay, that's 2 damage each, so that kills a bike. Okay, so now on to the las cannon. So again, 2 hits, or 2 shots, sorry. Re-rolling. Okay, only 1 goes through. 2s to wound. It wounds. And onto the 5 up invulnerable save, which it does go through. So it's D6 plus 1. So let's see if we can pop this last one with even the boss knob. No, only 2 damage. D6 plus 1. So that leaves one of the bikers on 1 wound. So we'll fire the aggressors into the squad, see if we can do something. So that's 3d6 plus 1 for each one. So that's 12 shots. So 5 to wound, but re-rolling everything. Here's the re-roll quickly. So 2 more, excellent. So that was 9 wounds that came through with no AP, so 9 4-up saves. Okay, that kills the one on 1 wound, and also, even with a reroll, kills the knob. So with the war bikers gone, we're going to put everything from the Centurions into the Rucker Truck Squig Buggy. So we'll start with the Hurricane Bolters to get 3 shots each, hitting on 3s. Strength 4 versus toughness 7, so it's 5s to wound but re-rolling because it's twin linked. And here's a re-roll. Okay, so 3 wounds come through, no AP, so 4-up saves. And it takes 2 wounds, he's got 7 left. Okay, so now the melter guns, they hit on 3s. So 2 hit. Strength 9, toughness 7, so 3s, but re-rolling because it's twin linked again. So 2 wounds go through, that's 2 on the 5 up invulnerable save. And it makes neither. It's 2d6 damage. For 10, which definitely kills it. Does it blow up? Let's hope so. No, it just melts into a pool, and that takes care of the Rucker Truck Squig Buggy as well. So we're coming around this side of the battlefield now. We're going to use a stratagem, one of the new ones from 10th, which is the grenade stratagem. So we get to select a unit that's got the grenades keyword, which is this interceptor unit, and we're going to throw it at this mech gun. So basically, on a 4-up for each of these dice, it suffers a mortal wound. So here we go. Ooh. That's very, very, very spicy. So the only thing left to do is to fire with a predator into the tank busters. So we'll start with the auto cannon. So it's going to be big guns never tire. It's -1 to hit in units that are in engagement range. So that's so 4 shots from the autocannon hitting on 4s. No, I'll take that. Strength 9 versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. That is 3 wounds go through. The autocannon is -1, so they get on their fibre pin vulnerable save. And that kills 3 straight up. So now the last cannon, there's 2 of them. 1 hits and it wounds. Fibre pin vulnerable save. No, and that kills 4. So there's only 1 tank buster left. So what we're going to do, we're going to charge the assault intercessors into the commandos. A few decisions to make. I think we're going to charge the centurions into the Waaaaagghh boys, but we're also going to try and charge the aggressors with the captain down there into the Waaaaagghh boys as well. And then we'll also charge these intercessors into the mech gun and see if we can finish it off. So I'll measure up and do some charges. So I rolled for the intercessors over there. They got a 10, so they're in with the mech gun. These assault intercessors need a 5, and they get in with a 10. The assault centurions will pretty much be in, but I'll roll for them anyway, and they get a 7. And then I need an 8 for this lead aggressor to make engagement range. So let's see what we can do. With a 6, that doesn't cut it. I don't want to spend a CP because I've only got 1 left, and I want to use a stratagem on the assault intercessors. So we'll leave it at that. We'll move everybody in and start the fight phase. So each of these centurions gets 3 attacks. They are twin-linked siege drills, but they're hitting on 3s, and we would be wounding on 3s, but we're going to spend a CP for the tough hide stratagem, whatever it's called for the orcs, giving them a +1, so a -1 to wound. So here we go, hitting on 3s. I'm wounding on 4s now, but they are twin linked, so I can re-roll. That's a good job. Okay, so 5 go through, so that's 5 on the orcs, 5 up, invulnerable save, which they make 1. Okay, so that is 3 damage each, but they do get a feel no pain. So that'll be 4 sets of 3 feel no pains. Start with the first one. And he has a wound left. So the second one, which he then dies. The third one that goes through has a wound left. And that kills 2. So that's over the 4 wounds that came through. That is 2 Waaaaagghh boys that have gone. So we'll move on to the assault intercessors into the commandos, where they're going to spend a CP on another chapter to give themselves the lance ability, giving them +1 to wound. So we come around here for the assault intercessors into the commandos. They get 4 attacks each. Okay, with the chainsword. I need bigger hands. And so they're hitting on 3s. And with the lance ability, that's giving us +1 to wound, so they're wounding on 4s this time. So 8 at -1, which would be, which takes them onto their invulnerable save for the Waaaaagghh. So that's 8 5-up saves. which we make 3. Excellent. So we finish off with this fight over here with the intercessors into the mech gun. It's got 2 wounds left, not 1, my mistake. So hitting on 3s. That's not bad. Wounding on 5s, however, that's the kicker. So 5 up saves. Oof, not even with the CP. So with that, the mech gun is torn down, and now we can move on to sort of the fight back from the Orks. What can the crew of Mad Dog McSweeney do now they're into close combat and right up in the Space Marines' faces? So we'll come round to the commandos here first, and we'll leave Mad Dog McSweeney for a moment. I'm going to start with the breacher ram. And that hits on 4s. So 1 hit. It'll wound on 2s. And it wounds. It's -2, 2 damage. So a 5 up save required. Whoops. Nope. That kills an assault intercessor. And now the power claw from the chopper, sorry, from the no, it's under the effects of the Waaaaagghh, so they get an extra attack. Hits, wounds, fails. That's 2 assault marines dead. And now the chopper. So before attacks, all hit. 3s to wound, get an extra strength. It's 2 wounds, -1. That wounds one of the assault intercessors, and now the power claw, and he's got an extra attack because he's still under the effect of the Waaaaagghh. Okay, so one hit and doesn't wound. Okay. So it kills 2 assault intercessors there, and we'll move on to Mad Dog McSweeney. So we'll start with the Squighog boy. He'll have 4 attacks because the Waaaaaggh's still in effect, and they're hitting on 2s because McSweeney is leading that unit. So he manages to miss once. Okay, it has a lance ability, so it would be wounding on 5s, but now it's wounding on 4s because it's strength 5 versus toughness 7, so it's 4s to wound on this occasion. And 2 wounds go through. So that's 2 at -1. So that's 2 3 up saves. And one of the Centurions takes 2 wounds. So Mad Dog will get 6 attacks because the Waaaaaggh's still in effect, hitting on 2s. Oh dear. Strength 7 with his big chopper. Against toughness 7, he doesn't get the lance ability, so forced to wound. That's 1 wound. Again at -1, and the Centurion is fine. Now I'll sort out all the squigs going in as well. So all the squigs come in, and they hit 3 times. Wounding on 5s. 1 wound goes through. Unbelievably, it tears down that Centurion on 2 wounds left. So at the end of battle round 2, the Ghosts of the Forge have managed to clear a bit of a route through, but they have engaged up close with Mad Dog McSweeney again with the Centurions, and they've traded blow for blow, but it has left 2 assault Centurions, Mad Dog and a Squighog boy. And over on the Space Marines' left-hand flank, the assault intercessors are engaging with the commandos. So what will the Orks do in battle round 3? So at the end of the Ork command phase and movement phase, Brought a few things round. So we bought this scrap track jet round. This one's remained still. This squad of Ork boys has disembarked from the truck, ready to charge anything should that impulsor get destroyed. The custom booster blaster has just shuffled around a little bit, allowing the looter boys to come forward and get a line of sight on the impulsor as well. This truck with the weird boy leading the Ork unit has brought himself forward so I can just try and get a line of sight on some just some incidental fire on the aggressors. But everything else has remained pretty much where it is. The only other thing is this truck over here just shuffled itself a little bit forward, so when it does disembark its Orks, there should be hopefully a whole sea of Orks here for the Space Marines to try and get through should they start making headway forward up the battle sector. So with that, we'll move on to the Ork shooting phase. So we're going to start the shooting phase off with this Megatrack scrapjet. I've actually got the name right for once. It's only taken 3 turns into the impulsor. So we'll start off with its rocket cannon, which is D6 plus 1 shots for 6. So it's hitting on 5s. 2 hits. So wounding on 4, strength 9 versus toughness 9. No wounds. No, leave that. Okay, so now it's twin big shooter. 1 hit. 5s to wound. Oops, off the table. Yeah, it wounds. No AP. It passes. Okay, now the wing missiles, which hit, falls to wound, which wounds, -2, so 5 up save, and it fails and takes 3 damage, so it's got 2 wounds remaining. So we'll work our way around here to the looters who are going to take a shot at the impulsor. So we'll start off with the custom Mega Blasters. There's 2 inside that squad. So hitting on 5s. Not bad. Strength 9, toughness 9, so wounding on 4s. 3 wounds go through. It is -2. Let's see what happens. All 3 go through. Well, I've only got 2 wounds left. What is the damage? It's D6 a time. Well, it would have killed it straight off. So we'll roll for the 2 Orks. I've got those. 1 kills himself. Fantastic. And does the impulsor blow up? Very, very nearly. Okay, so we'll roll for the 4 that are inside. One takes 2 mortal wounds on the way out. More importantly, is the precious cargo in this impulsor. We have the impulsor, we have the Land Raider, and we have the repulsor that are all capable of transport. So, with the first vehicle going, on a 5 or 6, the precious cargo is inside the impulsor. No, it wasn't. Okay. So we'll get the models out and get that impulsor removed. So the boys in this truck used firing deck ability and all fired out, and actually with their pistols did 3 or 4 wounds and managed to actually plink off the last wound for that Blade Guard veteran. So we'll move on to the custom booster blaster, who's going to split fire. So it's going to put the Grot blaster and the burner exhausts into the Blade Guard, everything else, the rocket launch, the rivet cannon, is going to go into the Land Raider. So we'll start with the burner exhausts for 5 shots. Strength 4, toughness 4. So 2 wounds. And which one goes through? And then the grot launcher hits, wounds, save, which is fine. It's another rivet cannon, 6 shots hitting on 5s. Wounding on 5s, so just 1. Which is fine. The Land Raider saves it. Okay, so what we'll then do is, working our way around, we'll come over to that Megatrak scrapjet, putting everything into the Land Raider. So we'll start with the rocket cannon. So for 4 shots, and they all miss. The twin big shooter, they all miss, and the wing missile also misses. Excellent. And with that, there isn't actually any more shooting left. So with that, we'll go on to charges. And we'll be declaring these Orks go into the Blade Guard. And the Megatrak scrapjet will also go in to the Blade Guard as well. So it's a 5-inch charge for the Ork boys, and they make it in with a 7, and it's an 8-inch charge for the Megatrak scrapjet, which definitely makes it in with a 10. So I'll move them in and we'll go from there. So as the Megatrak scrapjet comes barreling in, it gets the drill through ability. So on a 2 to 5, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds that it's barreling into. On a 6, it suffers a flat 3. So let's go. It's D3 mortal wounds for 2. So that's yeah, could be significant when it comes down to it. Okay, so 3 attacks each. So it's 9 sets of 3 dice, and then the 3 there for the big chopper on the boss, not on the knob. So yeah, quite a lot of pain coming in. The Orks are now finally in their happy place, right up close. So here we are, hitting on 3s. Wounding on 4s for the red dice and 3s for the white dice. Oh. So that translates into 11 saves at -1. Okay, so kills 1 and injures another. Actually, there was only one. The one of them only had 1 wound left, so it kills him and kills the sergeant. So leaving only the lieutenant, which the Megatrak scrapjet is going to put obviously everything into. So he gets 4 attacks on the charge, hitting on 4s, strength 8. So here's 4 attacks hitting on 4s. And 2 hit. 2's to wound. Of course. Of course. I'll spend a CP. Wounds. And he saves. Okay. And with that, the lieutenant gets to strike back. So the lieutenant's right in the thick of it, I guess really in his happy place, so he's going to put everything into the Ork boys. So 5 attacks hitting on 2s. Strength 5, toughness 5, so winning on 4s. Only 2 wounds go through. So now we come on to remaining combat. So it's the Orks' turn, so I believe the Centurions will go first. So that's 6 attacks, hitting on 3s. Okay. Wounding on 3s, but re-rolling. We'll spend a CP again from the Orks to make the squig hide thing, so it's wounding on 4s, but re-rolling. Only one wound goes through. So a 6-up save required to keep that squig hog boy alive. And no. So that squig hog boy goes. And now, what can Mad Dog McSweeney do to bring down these assault centurions? Okay, so Mad Dog McSweeney gets 5 attacks. And he's no longer leading the unit, so it's hidden on 3s. That's not bad. It's a shame there's not like lethal stuff going on, but never mind. Wounding on 4s. Oh dear. It just bounces off the Centurion's hide. And that's another round of combat done with Mad Dog McSweeney. He's right in amongst it, loving where he is. But with that, we'll move on to the Space Marines, turn 3. 1 minute, we forgot some ongoing combat. So we'll do this lot here. We're going to do the Breacher Ram and the Power Claw together because they're the same profile. So it'll be 5 attacks, hitting on 4s. Not bad. Wounding on 2s. Okay. And that kills another Marine. And then the chopper misses. Oh no, it hits, so twice. But it doesn't wound. Okay. The attacks come back for the 1 remaining sergeant. And 2 wounds go through, which kills 2. So it's just got the 2 commandos fall, leaving the knob and the sergeant to go toe to toe as he consolidates and piles in together. That's some spicy ongoing combat right there. And so the tank buster raises his tank hammer and hits both times. Anti-vehicle, so he's wounding on a 4-up. And does a devastating wound. Okay. So equal to the, does devastating wounds, mortal wounds equal to the damage characteristics. So the tank hammer is D3. So just as 1. Okay. And then the Predator revs his engine. Hits twice. And wounds twice. So 2 5-up saves to keep the tank buster alive. No. Okay. So he falls and that frees the Predator up, which could be significant for the Space Marines' turn. So that does mark the end of turn 3 for the Orks. They are holding up. They've got 2 more transports to get through. Let's see what the Space Marines can do to try and free themselves up and get unsnagged from all this ongoing combat and try and get across the battle grid. Space Marines, turn 3. So at the end of the Space Marines movement phase, we've brought the aggressors round. I think we're going to have some Warlord on Warlord going on. We've moved into tactical doctrine, which allows the units to fall back and then charge. So that's what the Centurions have done, and that's also what the Assault Intercessor has done over here. The Repulsor has advanced, so he'll be doing nothing this turn, but the Predator, now is free of combat, has moved up. Land Raider stayed still. So the other thing is the intercessors around this side have also moved up slightly to try and maybe start bringing themselves around the back of this and into the thick of it, along with these trucks that are full of Orks. So the lieutenants also fell back out of combat, and the Oath of Moment unit is actually going to be, I think, that Megatrak scrapjet just there. Just try and clear the lines somewhat. So with that, we'll move on to the shooting phase. So we'll start with the Land Raider here, and we'll work our way up the board. We'll start with its heavy bolters going into that one remaining commando knob. So hitting on 3s, 2 hits, sustained hits as well, so they actually explode. Been a lot to remember here. Strength 5, toughness 5, so falls to wound, but it's twin linked, so it's re-rolling. Doesn't need to re-roll, and that is -1. And that pops that commando. So now on to the las cannons into the Megatrak scrapjet. So it's re-rolling because of the Oath of Moment. So re-roll, still misses. Excellent. 3s, and it wounds on -3. So it has a 6 up invulnerable save, which it doesn't make. So it's D6 damage +1. 3 wounds go through. It's got 6 remaining. So we're now going to go, we don't have much choice really for this Predator into the Megatrak scrapjet. So we'll start with the auto cannon. That's re-rolling. So all 4 hit. So it'd be strength 9 versus toughness 7, so 3s to wound. I get to re-roll all of those, thankfully. Okay, so that's 3 wounds go through at -1, so on to its 6 up save. It doesn't make any of them, and it makes one of them, sorry, and that is 9 wounds right there. So does it explode? It does not. Okay. So all the aggressors here are going to go into the squad of Orks there, Ork boys. So 3d6 +1. Okay. That became 13 auto hits. It's strength 4, so it'd be 5s to wound, but it is re-rolling because it's twin linked. So after the re-rolls, 8 wounds came through, so it's 8 5-up saves. So with the shooting pretty much done, we're going to go on to the charge phase. The lieutenant's going to charge that lonely knob, and the assault centurions are going to charge into the truck. Lastly, the aggressors plus the captain are going to charge into Mad Dog McSweeney. So it's a 3-inch charge for the aggressors, and they're in with a 6. It's a 3-inch charge for the assault centurions, and they're in with a 6. And it's a 7-inch charge for the lieutenant, and he's in with a 7. So we'll start with the captain into Mad Dog McSweeney. So he has the Honour Vermont, which gives him an extra attack and extra strength. So he's got 7 attacks. Hitting on 2s. Okay. Now here's the kicker. It's strength 5. Becomes strength 6, but Mad Dog McSweeney is toughness 7, so it's 5s to wound. 2 go through. So that becomes 6 up saves for Mad Dog as he starts his career as the biggest boss. And he makes 1 and fails 1. That's 2 damage. He has a 5 up feel no pain. He feels the pain on this occasion. So he's got 3 wounds left. So the aggressors come with their power fists, they're twin linked, and they have 3 attacks each, hitting on 4s. So wounding on 3s, but re-rolling because it's twin linked. So those 2 to re-roll. So 5 go through. So 5 on to Mad Dog McSweeney, 6 up save. And he makes 2 of them. He is hard to kill. So that becomes 6 feel no pains. Come on. No, and with that, Mad Dog McSweeney falls. And as Mad Dog falls, his Squig Hog drags him off to safety, and no doubt we'll see him again sometime soon. And with that, we'll move on to the Assault Centurions, who are hitting on 3s, and because it's against a vehicle, we get sustained hits 2. So strength 10 versus toughness 8, but again it's twin linked, so wounding on 3s and getting to re-roll. There's a re-roll. Okay, so that's a lot of wounds. So the truck has a 6 up invulnerable save, so 9 wounds come through, so 9 6s. We make 1. So that absolutely demolishes the truck. Does it blow up? It has a deadly demise of D3. Let's have a look. No, it doesn't. Okay, there's 11 models on there. Let's see how many mortal wounds are dished out. Not a 1. Fantastic. And so lastly we go on to the Lieutenant against the Knob. So 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. They all hit. Wounding on 4s. Only 2 wounds. But those 2 wounds with no invulnerable save after the wire's finished are enough to kill off that Knob, and that marks the end of the Space Marines turn 3. So how will the Orks rally and retaliate now that Mad Dog McSweeney is out of action? Let's see as we go on to Orks turn 4. So at the end of the movement phase, the Mecha-Track scrapjets come round. Everything, so the Mecha-Track scrapjet, the custom booster blaster, and we've moved the looters round as well. Everything trying to get line of sight on these vehicles. We need to try and pop them. Whether we put tank everything into the Land Raiders or tank everything into the Repulsor, another one needs to go. We need to get to a point where we can get this asset. The Orks have disembarked. We've made a bit of a roadblock up this end just in case things do go wrong. And then these Orks have disembarked, looking to just go and say hello to the intercessors. So with that, we'll move on to the shooting phase. And we'll start with the Weird Boy. And he's going to use his Headbanger ability into the Centurions. Or is he? he could use the headbanger into the captain, which is only 1 damage. Let's go to the Centurions. So, hits on a 4, hits. Does it wound? At toughness 7, no, it doesn't wound. So we'll move on to all the Orc boys firing the sluggers into the Centurions. You never know. So we'll get some dice together and see in a minute. Okay, so we're going to go on to the looters that are just there, and we're going to go everything into the repulsor. See if we can do something to it. I think we're going to have to target the closest unit. So we'll start with the big shooter. It's in half range, so it gets 5 shots. Hitting on 5s. Wounding on 6s. Oof, nearly, not quite. Okay, now the death gun. So the death gun now gets 3 shots because it's in rapid fire range. Hitting on 6s, nothing. And now the custom mega blaster. Hitting on 5s. 1 hits. Yeah, 1 hits. We won't do a reroll. 5s to wound. It wounds. -2. Goes through for D6 damage. For 2. So then we go on to the custom booster blaster. We're going to put the grot blaster and the burner exhaust into the lieutenant, and then the rivet cannon into the repulsor. So 2d6 shots with the burner exhaust for 7. Wounding on 4s, but re-rolling because it's twin linked. I need to re-roll 1. Okay. There's 6 wounds go through, no AP. And he's fine. Can the grot take him out? Or at least give him a headache? No. Okay, so now 6 shots into the repulsor. It is in rapid fire range, so it gets another 3. Hitting on 5s. Wounding on 5s. 2 wounds go through at -1. And it takes 2 more damage. 12 left. So now everything from the Megatrack scrapjet's going to go into the repulsor. So the rocket cannon for 6 shots. So the rocket cannon hitting on 5s. Just the 1. Wounding on 5s, nothing. Okay, so now the twin big shooter hits once, wounding on 6s, but re-roll him, it's twin linked, nothing. And now the wing missile hitting on 5s, nothing. Okay, so that's pretty much the orc shooting done. The boys all shot into the various different units. And did no damage whatsoever. So now it's charges. So we'll declare a charge with this squad of orc boys into the intercessors, because why not? I'll have a think about well, it's either going to charge now or be charged. So we'll charge with the Megatrack scrapjet and see what we can do. And then we'll charge this squad of boys into the Assault Centurions. And we'll probably try and charge with that squad of Orc boys into the Lieutenant as well. So we'll do some measuring and see what we can do. So the scrapjet, the Megatrack scrapjet is in, the Orc boys are in, about 7 can make contact. So we're going to go a long bomb charge for the boys into the Lieutenant. And they make it on a 9. That's exactly what they needed. And then we're going to go for the Weird Boys unit into the Assault Intercessors, but we are going to spend a CP on Overwatch. So here's the Hurricane Bolters, looking for 6s, another 1, and then 2 melter guns to the left. No, neither. So we'll roll for the charge, but they're pretty much auto in with a 5 definitely there. So I'll move everybody in and start the fight phase. So as the Megatrak Scrapjet comes in, uses its drill through ability, what do we get? It does D3 mortal wounds. Can it take down an aggressor on the way in? Yes it can, yes it can. So we'll stay with the Megatrak Scrapjet. So 4 attacks hitting on 4s. Just the 1. 3s to wound, and it doesn't wound. Okay, so we'll then just move on to some boys. So we did this squad of Orks off camera and managed to take out 3, leaving 1 on 1 wound. It was good. So now we're going to move on to this squad here, everything into the lieutenant, see if they can bring him down. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 4s. So 9 saves, -1. Not even with a command point. He's only got 4 wounds. They tear the lieutenant down. So we move on to this squad of Orks going into the 2 Centurions that are left. So again, the white dice are the big chopper from the knob. Here we go. 5s and 4s to wound. Okay, so 6 3-up saves doing 1 damage each. Okay, leaves 1 on 1 wound, and then 1 for the boss knob. It's a weapon that came through, which is fine. So it leaves 1 Centurion on 1 wound left. Sorry, 2 Centurions with 1 on 1 wound. So 6 attacks come back from the Centurions, hitting on 3s. Wounding on 2s. Sorry, killing on 2s basically. So that's 2 Ork boys dead. Not bad. So now we go on to the combat over here, into the Megatrak Scrapjet. So the Grabber's Captain hitting on 2s. Wounding on 5s. Ooh. And the 2 aggressors that are left hitting on 4s. Wounding on, I'm going to re-roll one of those, spend a CP. And wounding on 3s, re-rolling. Okay, so that's 4 on the 6-up invulnerable save of the Scrapjet. It takes 6 wounds. So that marks the end of the Orcs' turn 4. There's a lot of work for the Space Marines to do. We've barely got out of the first third of the battle map of the sector. So with that, we'll move on to Space Marines turn 4. So at the end of the Space Marines command phase, we have put Oath of Moment onto the custom booster blaster. Try and get rid of that. We fell back out of combat, ready to do a charge further up the field with the captain and the aggressors. The Terminators have disembarked from the repulsor. The Land Raiders come up in support. The Predator has moved round, taking line of sight onto the custom booster blaster. The repulsor advanced. We're going to spend a strat on him, allowing him to go back into Devastator so he can advance and shoot. And see if we can start clearing the way on a few things. I think I want to try and clear these trucks out the way in order to support the Land Raider coming through. I think everything else will be able to be taken care of with the Terminators and the Aggressors in this blob here, but let's see. There's still, if we're going to clear a path through, we need to clear some of these trucks out of the way as well. So that's what we'll do. We'll start with the repulsor, firing everything into that first truck here in the roadblock. So firing the defensive array off camera, we managed to plink one wound off, but now we'll go on to the heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, hitting on 3s. It's wounding on 5s, but 6s do devastating wounds. Okay, so just one mortal wound goes through, down to 8 remaining. Now we'll fire with the last cannon, which hits, 3s to wound, which wounds, onto the 6 of invulnerable save, which it fails, so it's d6 plus 1 damage for 6 more, so it's got 2 wounds remaining. Okay, so now the Land Raider's going to go everything into the custom booster blaster, although at the moment it's re-rolling everything. So we'll start with the heavy bolter. Re-rolling, so 2 hits, 5s to wound, re-rolling. Okay, so 1 wound goes through, which it fails, so it takes 2 wounds. So we'll keep a little tally up there. And then the last cannon, both hit, 3s to wound, and re-roll. So that is 2 wounds on the 6 of invulnerable save. It fails both of them, so now it's d6 plus 1. So that is 3, 6, plus the 8, plus the 2 it's already taken. So it's taken 8 wounds, still got some left. So we're going to split fire now with the Predator. We're going to actually switch it around a little bit. We're going to put the last cannons into the custom booster blaster because it can re-roll, and the auto cannon is going to go into the truck. So we'll start with the last cannons. Both hit, and both wound. It can't be seen, but it's still -3, so it's still a 6 of invulnerable, so it's a 4-up save. So, which it fails both. It's only got 1 wound left. Does it explode? Let's hope so. No. So that's taken care of. The custom booster blaster. So now we're in half range of the truck, so we get an extra 2 shots with the auto cannon. In on 3s. That's not bad. Wounding on 3s. That's 3 wounds come through. -1, so 5s. Nope. That's 6 damage goes through. So does the truck blow up? No, nothing's blown up today. Very disappointing. And with that, we've cleared a little bit of a way through this central corridor of this wasteland, but now it's time for charges. So we're going to charge the Terminator squad and the Captain's Aggressor squad into that squad of boys. Start with the Terminators. They are very keen. And then on to the Aggressor squad. They're also pretty keen. So move them in and we'll get on with some combat. So we'll start with the Terminator squad. And they're hitting on 4s with their Thunderhammers. They're winning on 3s. Well, actually killing on 3s because AP2 and the t-shirt saves from the Orks. So they're killing on 3s, but 6s do devastating wounds. So that kills 5 straight out. Now the Gravis captain raises his sword, hits on 2s. Wounds on 4s. 3 wounds go through, -2, so kills 3 more. And with the aggressors to the left, again hitting on 4s. And killing on 3s and re-rolling. And that's the squad. So now we move on to the Weird Boys squad. They've all shifted through and powdered a bit more to let him in, so it can give them assault centurions a good walloping with his Weird Boy staff. So 3 attacks hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s. It wounds. -1, so 3 up save. Or that's 1 dead assault centurion. And he's fine. So then in come the attacks from the rest of the boys. So all are coming from the boys. So 5s with the red dice and 4s with the white dice. So I'll do 4 3-ups with 1 damage. And that kills one assaulted centurion and puts the sergeant down to 3 wounds. And then the same with the big chopper. Oh, and the assault centurion sergeant has got 1 wound remaining. So that lonely sergeant raises his fists, fires up the siege drills once more, and ploughs into the squad of boys, hitting on 3s. Killing on 2s, re-rolling. And 2 more boys fall. And that marks the end of Space Marines turn 4. So there's not, our movement phase was pretty quick. There's not much left for the Orks now, but they're having an absolute whale of a time. So this squad of boys, off camera, we resolved the fact that they absolutely smushed the intercessor to pieces, and they've brought themselves back round because they fancied having a go at some of these slightly tougher Umis. Then the looters drop back a little bit to get more line of sight on this repulsor. The squad of boys with the Weird Boy stayed in combat, and the Megatrack Scrapjet just brought himself forward a little bit because he's going to have a go at this Land Raider, because why not? So we're going on with some shooting. So we're going to start with the looters, and they're going to fire everything into the repulsor. So we'll start with the Def Gun. It's in rapid fire range, hitting on 6s. No. And then the big shooter, hitting on, I guess it's another 2 shots, hitting on 5s. 2 hits. Wounded on 6s. Nothing. Okay. And then on to the custom Mega Blaster, which we could really do with this coming off, to be fair. So hitting on 5s. Come on. Just the 1. Wounding on 3s. Wounding on 4s. Even worse than that. Wounding on 5s. I'll spend a CP. It goes through. -2. It fails. Let's look for that D6 damage. Come on, big 6. 3. Okay, it's only got 9 wounds remaining. And with that, well then, we've fired off camera. We fired all the sluggers into the Terminators and predictably did nothing at all. So we'll head on to the Megatrack Scrapjet into the Land Raider. So we'll start with his rocket cannon. D6 +1 shots. for 6 again. Not bad at all. Getting on 5s. So just 2. Wounding on 5s. Just the 1. So 4 up save, which it fails and takes 3 wounds. Now the twin big shooter hits once, wounds, and it goes through for another damage, so it's got 9 remaining as well. So now onto the wing missile, which hits, doesn't wound. Okay, and that is all the shooting done. So with that, all that's left really is charges. So we're going to charge the Mega Trap Scrapjet, which gets in, and how many wounds on the charge? It doesn't do any. Excellent. That was your time to shine, mate. And then the boys into Terminators, they're in. So we'll start with the Scrapjet. There's 4 attacks coming in. And he misses every single, I don't know how he's managed. He's right in front of you, but he's missed every single time. After all the attacks came through from the boys, there were 7 wounds done. There's 7 3-up saves. And 1 Terminator gets tickled a couple of times. Now the Terminators turn and swing their hammers. Killing on 3s, but devastating wounds as well on 6s. So it kills 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 Ork boys fall. So the last thing to do is actually fight back with the Land Raider, so hits on 4s. Okay. He's got 3 wounds to get to, I think, so we've got strength 8. 2 wounds go through. We'll spend a CP, why not? See if we can kill off that Scrapjet. No. But it does take 2 more wounds. So it's down to 1 wound remaining. So before we start doing anything with the Space Marines, we need to roll off, because this mission, this convoy mission, is designed so that units that get to this board edge and completely go off it, the count has escaped. And no matter what happens now, the Space Marines cannot get any units off of that board edge. So they've decided, with a bit of wild abandon, they will unleash the asset they've been trying to protect. The question is, which transport had it? This one or this one over here? So on a 5 or 6 it wasn't the impulsor, so on a 3, 4, 5 and 6 it could be the repulsor, which it isn't. So the Eversaw assassin was definitely in the Land Raider all along. So at the end of the command phase, the captain and his 2 remaining aggressors have climbed on into the Land Raider, and that's driven forward. They've unleashed the Eversaw assassin, and he's heading straight for any command structure he can find, which is the weird boy that's left. The repulsor has flipped, with the Terminators making their way forward, and once they've ploughed their way through the looters, they'll re-embark onto the repulsor, and that will head off. The remaining assault intercessor also climbed on board, and the Predator has turned and is eyeing up the 1 remaining vehicle that's left with anything in it. So with that, we will go on to shooting just to see what happens, and then we'll wrap up. The Oath of Moment units are going to be this truck. See if we can clear a way for what the Land Raider will be then working its way through. So we'll start with the autocannon into this mega track. Gets 2 more shots because of rapid fire, hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s. That isn't bad at all. And that takes the buggy out. Does it explode? No. And so now everything from the Land Raider and everything from the Land Raider will go into that first scrap chat, the first truck. So we'll start with the heavy bolters, sustained hits if we get them. We get to re-roll. Okay, so it gets 1. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling. Nothing. Okay, so now the last cannons. Re-rolling. 2 hits. That's 2 wounds. And definitely nothing. So it's 2d6 plus 1. Let's see if I can pop this first truck. That is 6. And that is now a 4. That is 10. And I have 10 wounds. Does it blow up? No. That is the first truck removed. So the last cannon from the repulsor going into the Romanian truck, which hits and doesn't wound. So then everything else goes into the looter boys and attempt to clear the way for the Terminators to get through. So hitting on 3s. Wounding on 3s with devastating wounds. So it kills 2 straight away with then 4 saves to make. And that is the squad of looters gone with the repulsor, leaving the Terminators free to move on up into the repulsor. So now the only thing that's left is for the Eversaw assassin to charge in, which he does. So in the command phase, we would have given the Eversaw assassin one of 3 different datasheet abilities, one of them being to shoot and declare a charge in the turn in which it advanced. The second one being the ability to have the precision keyword, so you can target characters in a squad, or killing rampage having the sustained hits 3 ability. So in this instance, we would have given him, he's off seeking HQs, he's looking to cut the head off the snake, so he's going for precision. So everything will go into that weird boy. So we have 6 attacks hitting on 2s, and everything hits. It's wounding on 3s as anti-infantry with his power sword and neuro gauntlet, so wounding on 3s. everything wounds. It's -2 damage. With the weird boy only having a 5-up save, that cuts through him, and that cuts the head off the snake. And the second HQ from the Waaaaagghh of Mad Dog McSweeney falls. And then we go on to defending units fight first with the Assault Centurion. And as all the choppers and big choppers come down on the Assault Centurion, he fails one of his saves. He had 5 go through, and one of them just managed to pop him. And so with that, he held up and tried his best to get rid of the boys. And with that, the re-embarked Marines head out towards the planetary docking area. The repulsor advances forward. The Land Raider advances forward, smashes through the truck. The Predator follows on behind, taking pot shots at the Ork boys at the left. But meanwhile, definitely the happiest person of all, right in his happy place amongst all the orcs, really introducing himself as he ever saw Assassin. And that is how this story ends. So I really hope you've enjoyed watching. The victory for the Orks. They did manage to keep the Space Marines from getting anything off of the board edge. So the tale of Mad Dog McSweeney starts here. He really was the star of the show, even though he exited early. Well, I'm sure we'll see him again soon. So thanks for watching and see you soon.